Today, we're going to talk about a case that truly sent a shockwave of horror across India. It's one of those stories that is so strange, so chilling, it's hard to believe it's real. This is the story of the Burari deaths.
So let's start with this number, 11. On a July morning back in 2018, that's how many members of a single family were found dead, all together inside their own home.
Yeah, it's as stark and horrifying as it sounds. An entire family just gone. In the one place on Earth they should have been safe. This discovery kicked off a nationwide mystery that honestly defied all logical explanation at first.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're in a neighborhood in Delhi called Burari. It's just a normal morning until the neighbors of the Chundawat family start to notice something's off. The family's shop hasn't opened on time, and the house is just quiet. Too quiet.
So when the police are finally called and they get inside that house, what they walked into was beyond anyone's worst imagination. It wasn't a standard crime scene, not with signs of a struggle or a robbery. No, this was something far, far stranger and more disturbing.
Get this, 10 family members were found hanging in the main room, almost arranged in a circle. But it gets even more methodical. Their hands were tied, their eyes were blindfolded, and their mouths were taped shut. The 11th person, the elderly grandmother, was found in another room. The scene wasn't chaotic. It was meticulously arranged. It looked like some kind of ritual.
So the first question on everyone's mind is the obvious one, right? This has to be a mass murder. Did someone or a group of people break in and do this to the family? It seemed like the only possible answer.
So the police get right to work. They start looking into all the usual motives, money problems, enemies, business rivals, anything that could explain why this family might have been targeted.
But here's where the investigation hits a wall. The family was doing just fine financially. They didn't seem to have any enemies. The neighbors all said the same thing. They were a perfectly normal, nice family. And maybe most importantly, there was no sign of a break-in. Nothing was stolen. The whole murder theory was starting to fall apart fast.
So with no leads, the investigation is pretty much at a standstill. I mean, if no one came in from the outside, then the only other explanation had to come from inside the house. But that idea seemed even more impossible. What could have possibly happened?
And just when it seemed like the case had gone cold, they found something. Investigators discovered a whole collection of diaries and notebooks in the home. And let me tell you, what was written inside was about to change everything.
This quote right here, taken from one of the diaries, is absolutely terrifying because it makes it clear that in their minds, they weren't killing themselves. They believed they were taking part in some kind of spiritual ceremony that would fix their problems and bring them a better life. They thought they were going to be saved.
The detail in these diaries is just mind-blowing. They had everything written down step by step. The exact timings for everything, how to tie the knots, how to cover their eyes. It all matched the scene perfectly. It was like a script for their own deaths, one they followed because they truly believed it wasn't the end.
So with this discovery, the whole focus of the case shifts. It's not a murder mystery anymore. It's a psychological one. The question isn't who did this, it's why did this happen? How could 11 people all agree to participate in something so deadly? The diaries pointed to one person at the center of it all, Lalit, one of the sons. He claimed that the spirit of his dead father was speaking to him, giving him instructions for how the family could fix its problems and find salvation. And somehow, over time, his claim became the entire family's reality. They all believed it, without question. Psychologists actually have a name for this. It's called a mass delusion, or a shared psychotic disorder. It happens in really close, isolated groups, like a family. One person with a very powerful, very irrational belief can essentially transmit that delusion to everyone else. Eventually, they all adopt it as their own reality. For the Chundawats, Lalit's delusion became their shared delusion.
So after all of this, what are we supposed to make of such a haunting story? Well, the Burari case is a powerful and very dark reminder of what can happen when belief gets completely separated from reality and when mental health issues go unnoticed and untreated.
Despite all the talk of spirits and rituals, the evidence all points in one direction. This wasn't some paranormal event. It was a profound,
catastrophic breakdown of human psychology. And it all happened behind the closed doors of one family's home.
At the end of the day, this case leaves us with some pretty serious warnings. It shows that blind faith, when it's completely unquestioning, can be incredibly dangerous. It's a tragic example of what happens when mental health is ignored. And it reminds us that logic and critical thinking, they aren't just skills. They can actually be safeguards for our own survival.
The Burari case is still one of the most unsettling true crime stories out there. But maybe the most frightening part isn't the mystery, but the fact that we kind of know how it happened, that it all came from the human mind. And that leaves you with a pretty heavy question, doesn't it? Do we control our beliefs, or do our beliefs control us?